Good evening. Thank you to all our audience members for being here tonight. Welcome to the candidate forum put on by the League of Women Voters of Arlington Heights. My name is Lucy and I am from the League of Women Voters of Arlington Heights, Mount Prospect, and the Buffalo Grove area. I am also a member of our Emerging Leaders program. Founded in 1920 out of the suffragette movement giving women the right to vote, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes candidates or parties for any office. The League's purpose is to promote political responsibility through the informed and active participation of citizens in government. Providing this forum allows citizens to become better informed about the issues facing their community and to become better acquainted with the candidates running for office. We are happy to provide this service for the community. To send in questions for the candidates tonight, please text the number 224-306-9521 or email forum.lwvah@gmail.com. All of the candidates were contacted by email or phone prior to today. The candidates have agreed to abide by the ground rules provided by the League of Women Voters. They are as follows. Candidates have flipped a virtual coin to determine speaking order. The moderator will rotate this order during the forum for questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their introductions. Next, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer questions. At the end, each candidate will have a 2-minute closing. League members will act as timers. Candidates will be given a 30-second and 15-second warning, so we ask the candidates to quickly complete their thoughts before they see the stop card. Time limits will be enforced out of respect for all candidates. Questions will be provided by the audience. Each question will be answered by all candidates, so please, audience, only ask questions related to the office being sought. Again, we can only use questions which can be answered by every candidate. Please send your questions to the number 224-306-9521 or email forum.lwvah@gmail.com. Questions will be reviewed by League volunteers for clarity, appropriateness, and to avoid duplication. Candidates have been asked not to interrupt one another. The moderator will repeat a question if asked. The candidates are to speak to the audience. Now I'd like to introduce our moderator for tonight's event, Mary Catherine.
Thank you. We will now start our candidate forum, and we ask that you bear with us and note that technology is what it is, and we are working to ensure that this event runs as smoothly as possible. With me on screen, we have our candidates, our ASL interpreter, Patty Shore-Caden, and our timer, Jane Berman. I would like to note that the Q&A chat has been disabled for all attendees. So again, if you would like to submit a question for the candidates, please text this number, 224-306-9521, or email forum.lwvah@gmail.com. This is in the chat as well. We will start this forum with candidate Dash, candidate for the Prospect Heights 4th Ward Alderman. Candidates, please notice the timer. When you see the stop sign, you may finish your sentence. The candidates will be in the following order for 2-minute opening statements. Candidate Dash and then candidate Folta. Candidate Dash, please begin your 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Danielle Dash, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting me to participate in tonight's candidate forum for Prospect Heights 4th Ward Alderman. I am currently the Alderman of Ward 4 in Prospect Heights, and I hope to continue my service to the city after winning the election on April 6th. I am a lifelong resident of Prospect Heights. My parents still live in the home that they built in 1978. I attended Prospect Heights Elementary Schools. After graduating from John Hersey High School, I attended the University of Illinois, where I received a degree in civil engineering. I have 25 years of experience in the residential construction industry, specializing in the acquisition and development of land for new subdivisions. I have a considerable amount of experience working on behalf of the city. I served on the Planning and Zoning Board for nearly 10 years and as its chair for the past 5 years. I've also served our community in other ways. I have been involved with the Prospect Heights Youth Baseball and Softball Program for the past 10 years as a coach, manager, and have helped with several special projects. I have also been a wedding ministry volunteer at St. Alphonsus Liguori in Prospect Heights for the past 17 years. The mayor of Prospect Heights, Nicholas J. Helmer, endorses my campaign, as does Patrick Ludvinson, the previous alderman of Ward 4. Earlier this week, the Daily Herald editorial board endorsed me as well. My experience and expertise make me uniquely qualified to serve the citizens of Prospect Heights. I hope that the residents agree that I'm the best candidate for alderman of the 4th Ward and that they vote to elect me on April 6th. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Fulta, please begin your 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you very much. On the eve of International Women's Day, I want to thank the Women's League for putting that thing together. Appreciate it. Dear residents of Prospect Heights of the 4th Ward, my name is Mariusz Folta. I have been proud resident of Prospect Heights since 1997. For many years, I have been actively attending and participating in the local school council meetings. Unfortunately, the residents of Prospect Heights often find their voices not been heard, and decisions are not always been made for their best interests. I have decided to run for Alderman of 4th Ward because I strongly believe that concerns of residents of Prospect Heights are not well represented, and I am an independent party, not affiliated with any interest of groups. So I try to have all voices heard in my ward and bring the resolutions to long-standing issues. There's a little bit about myself. I'm proudly married to my wife, Danuta, for 35 years. I have 5 wonderful children, and I'm the business owner of the accounting tax business in Prospect. Over years, I have learned a great deal of serving in Chicago Public School and parish St. Joseph the Worker in Wheeling, and I'm on the board of directors of nonprofit organizations like Premier Cycle League and advisors to the Chicago Society Polish National Alliance. My Prospect Heights has been my home for 24 years, and I deserve Prospect Heights deserve the proper representations in local council. Thank you.
Thank you. Audience, please send questions to 224-306-9521 or email forum.lwvah@gmail.com. Candidate Dolta has 1 minute to answer the first question. The question is, if elected, will you commit to send out a periodic newsletter that expresses your thoughts on current issues in Ward 4? There has been little coverage of our ward in the city's emails.
Definitely, that's what I'm pointing out. There's no communication between the residents and the city. So not only I would send those communications, but also I was thinking to be actively open to hear any concerns of the residents. I was even thinking to be available at least once a week for residents to come over if it's possible, to City Hall and have a coffee with the counselor. So that definitely, I would think that we need to be more open to residents and hear the residents' concerns.
Thank you. Candidate Dash, the same question. If elected, will you commit to send out a periodic newsletter that expresses your thoughts on current issues in Ward 4?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I'm currently putting together the update for Ward 4 that will go out in the next edition of the city's quarterly news. I think all residents of Prospect Heights receive it in the mail, and each quarterly newsletter gives each elected official an opportunity to share what's going on in the city. So I absolutely would expect to be using that to update the ward on what's happening. I'm also using social media. I have a Facebook page set up at Alderman Dash for residents to find me there in order to communicate. And hopefully post-COVID, there'll be more opportunities to be out and about meeting people in person as well.
Thank you. And just a reminder to our audience, please send questions to 224-306-9521 or email forum.lwvah@gmail.com. And all this information is in the chat as well. The next question is, how else have you been involved in our community? Candidate Dash has 1 minute to answer the second question.
Okay, so as I mentioned in my opening remarks, I've been very involved in our community. For the past 17 years, I've been a wedding ministry coordinator at St. Alphonsus, which has been it's a really fun opportunity to celebrate when people get married. Obviously an anxious time for most brides, but it's really a very rewarding opportunity to serve there. And then I've also been very involved with the Prospect Heights Youth Baseball and Softball Association. I have coached and managed for probably 10 years now, and I've also helped them with special projects, as needed, right? So the people who are already volunteering tend to be the people that continue to help out with the needs. So, but again, I like giving back, and obviously what I do is benefiting the kids of the community and the families. So even though I'm very busy, I certainly enjoy doing it.
Thank you. Candidate Fulta, you have 1 minute to answer that second question, which was, how else have you been involved in our community?
Thank you. Also on the soccer and I love playing soccer. So I did coach the kids in this area. And also right now, just because I'm a little bit older and I don't have any kids, all my kids are grown, I put it back into the community by the refereeing some games. Hersey is one of my the closest high schools I'm doing the games. So obviously I'm still involved with the city, and I will give it back anytime it's possible to give it back to the city of Prospect Heights.
Thank you. And just a reminder to the audience to send questions to 224-306-9521 or email forum.lwvah@gmail.com. All this information is in the chat. Candidate Dolta has 1 minute to answer this next question, which is, do you think the city has done a good job on handling pandemic issues?
Obviously, the city have a very limited resources to do it, just because everything from the corona is coming from the top, from the federal government. So the city have a very limited ways to do anything. And I believe, yes, they did a very good job with informations available on the website and telling the citizens what they need to do. I think they can do a little bit more information, just because I just find out that very close to my house there's a center to test corona, but not a lot of people know about that. So although they have a limited resources, that I think that they did a pretty good job.
Thank you. Candidate Dash has 1 minute to answer that question, which was, do you think the city has done a good job on handling pandemic issues? You're muted.
Now I'm unmuted. Thank you. The technology, right, Mary Catherine? So again, I think the city has done a fantastic job trying to navigate the pandemic, not only for the residents of Prospect Heights, but for the businesses of Prospect Heights who have also suffered during this difficult time. They continue to update their website with resources. They continue to focus during the weekly emails that they would send out on how residents and businesses can find resources to, again, support them during this difficult time. I think also going to virtual meetings, which was more of a necessity than it was maybe a new idea that was implemented, but by having virtual meetings, people could continue to participate in the public process from home where they're safe. And it also, I think, gave residents an opportunity to watch live and participate where maybe that had not been available pre-pandemic. So again, I feel that what they did was really excellent, and again, kept everyone safe at home.
Thank you. Just a reminder to the audience to please send your questions to 224-306-9521 or email forum.lwvah@gmail.com, and all of these methods are laid out in the chat. The next question is, what is your opinion about the Prospect Heights Natural Resources Commission? Candidate Dash has 1 minute to answer this question.
I have to tell you, I'm super impressed by what they contribute to our city. The improvements they've made at what most of us old-time residents would refer to as the slough. I mean, really, they've made such huge improvements there to not only make that area more attractive, but to make it more user-friendly. So there are paths there that residents can enjoy to access some of the nature and wildlife in that community. And they've been in front of the Planning and Zoning Board, the City Council, seeking permission to grow native vegetation that they plant in these areas. And I've always supported that. Again, they've really done a fantastic job, not only improving areas within our city, but also their outreach and education to those in our community has been instrumental as well. So I give them a lot of credit. It's, for a volunteer organization, they really are spectacular.
Thank you. Candidate Fulta has 1 minute to answer that same question, which is, what is your opinion about the Prospect Heights Natural Resources Commission?
They're doing a great job. They're doing a great job. I enjoy their job. During the summer, of course, when I biked every Sunday through the path, and in the morning, I see a lot of people working and contributing to beautify our city. And you know what? And I just recently find out that even during the cold days, they doing that anyway, and they still working. So I'm amazed that they're so passionate about this, and so they're doing a great job. And I wish I could have more time and start working with them. But yeah, great job.
Thank you. And just a reminder to the audience to please send questions to 224-306-9521 or email forum.lwvah@gmail.com. The next question is, what is your position or vision for the development of the downtown area of Prospect Heights? Candidate Fulta has 1 minute to answer this question.
First of all, you have to define what's downtown. If it's a downtown, we're talking about Ken McDonald and Alderman Road. There it is. And I know that's the mayor's vision to have a downtown like any other cities around us. I'm not much in favor of this, just because the reason when I moved to Prospect Heights was a small city. It is a small city with the big lot, but there's not a lot of big buildings around us. So I think we should stay as we are. I mean, obviously, purchasing the lands in these times, it will put the city in the in the kind of like difficult situation. So if it's the time right, then yes, they could be on the table, but I don't think in the tough times right now, there should be any thinking about building any downtown area.
Thank you. Candidate Dash has 1 minute to answer the same question, which is what is your position or vision for the development of the downtown area of Prospect Heights? You're unmuted.
I'm unmuted now. I apologize. Yeah, downtown Prospect Heights, that's interesting, right? I mean, only 3 corners of that intersection are actually within the boundaries of the city of Prospect Heights, right? So, I mean, way back when City Hall was originally located where the Walgreens is now, and obviously that's no longer an area that could be repurposed for a bigger or better downtown Prospect Heights. So, I mean, I would say that, you know, clearly it would be nice to have some place where residents could gather and enjoy food and drink. But I would say right now where we're at with that intersection, you know, Deli for You and the mall there have just revamped their entire property there, and it looks fantastic. And so I'd say, you know, again, the vision for downtown is likely very limited by the opportunities that are available there.
Thank you. Candidate Dash has 1 minute to answer this next question, which is what is your position on the proposed tax increment financing district for the proposed townhouse development on Oak Avenue?
So I believe that the TIF district is going to benefit not only the developers who are looking to create a new vision for what's currently an undeveloped, underutilized piece of property in our town, but it will benefit the existing residents of Prospect Heights by bringing to their neighborhood stormwater infrastructure improvements, possibly some pedestrian friendly improvements. I believe maybe there's some sidewalk planned as part of that TIF improvement project. So again, I think the TIF is going to be valuable, again, not just for the improvements that are needed to redevelop that blighted piece of property, but really it will benefit those existing residents who are there, who are currently experiencing many drainage problems.
Thank you. Candidate Fulta, you have 1 minute to answer the same question. What is your position on the proposed tax increment financing district for the proposed townhouse development on Oak Avenue?
We're talking about 69 units in Lexington. Is that what we're talking about? I'm sorry.
It's the proposed townhouse development on Oak Avenue.
Yeah. So if we're talking about the Lexington homes, this whole development was against the will of the residents. There was over 200 people were against the development, and so I really, you know, I really don't like that nobody listened to the people, and so that I know that's probably over, and the TIF, constructing the TIF is just gonna complete the job. So this is one of my things that, you know, I see the disconnect between the city and the residents, and the city don't listen what the people are saying. When the people come into the meeting, over 200 people, then they're against the development, and the city will do it anyway. Yeah, my time is up, so I will finish around that.
Thank you. Candidate Fulta has 1 minute to answer this next question. If you could change one thing about our zoning code, what would it be and why?
I was a witness to one of the zoning codes being enforced about not parking the cars on the driveways. This was that was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know the specifics, but there was another thing that there was a lot of people against this ordinance, and the ordinance kind of just let the owners if to put parking the cars on their driveways. So I think this is a little bit overreach. And I think if I'm going to be alderman, I would revisit this ordinance and I would try to change that.
Candidate Dash, you have 1 minute to answer the same question. If you could change one thing about our zoning code, what would it be and why?
So honestly, really nothing is coming to mind. I mean, I've been on the planning and zoning board for 10 years. I mean, there were certainly items that came up that caused us to make amendments to the zoning code. But really, based on my experience, it's functioned very well. Certainly, if there are items in our zoning code that our residents don't feel are relevant or are unfair, I'd certainly be open to having those discussions. But at this point, really nothing's coming to mind as far as where our zoning code could be improved.
Thank you. Candidate Dash, you have 1 minute to answer the next question, which is, what education, training, and experience can you bring to the City Council that will help with the flooding in Ward 4?
Okay, so going back to being uniquely qualified, my degree from the University of Illinois is in civil engineering with an emphasis in construction management and soil mechanics. So I really have a very good understanding as to how infrastructure works and how drainage is supposed to work to prevent flooding in town. And not only do I understand the concepts of infrastructure, good infrastructure, but I understand how projects come to fruition. I mean, projects just don't happen overnight. So I understand the planning and design stage. I understand the permitting and approval stage. And then I also understand how projects get implemented in the field. So I would say that my education and my work experience developing subdivisions, again, make me uniquely qualified to help not only the residents of the Fourth Ward with their flooding and drainage problems, but all of the areas within Prospect Heights that experience those same issues.
Thank you. Candidate Fulta, you have 1 minute to answer the same question. If you could change, what education, training, and experience can you bring to the City Council that will help with the flooding in Ward 4?
Yes, if you are an alderman, you don't have to have that degree with Mrs. Dashout, and I admire her experience. And she proved that when she was serving on the PCBA. The flooding problems has been since at least 25 years when I moved into the Prospect Heights. They were there. So all the people, all the aldermen went through the city council. Their experience didn't mean anything. And the reason is simple. We have a problem. We have an infrastructure problem. So it doesn't matter if you have experience or not. The water has to go somewhere. So and aldermen, they are not designing the system, but engineers designing the system. So aldermen need to see what the system is proposed and how it's going to work in the city. So that's how I see this problem.
Thank you. Candidate Fulta, you have 1 minute to answer the following question. What neighborhood do you live in, and what are your favorite places to spend time in our town?
I live on the west side, right by the Rand Road, busy street. Right now, obviously, everything is kind of like the sleepy mood. Cars just driving by on the Rand Road. So just because of shutdowns and the corona, we're trying to stay home, but we still shop locally in Mount Prospect, just because one of the issues for Prospect Heights, is the sales tax. So that we're talking to the other friends and neighbors to make sure you shop in Prospect Heights, It's because that money is coming to us, back to the residents. So although we hopefully everything is gonna open up and we're gonna be able to enjoy our life a little bit more, we have a lot of great businesses around us and a lot of good restaurants. And so definitely we can use them and to support local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Dash, you have 1 minute to answer the same question. What neighborhood do you live in, and what are your favorite places to spend time in our town?
So I also live on the west side of town. I'm just sort of south of Hersey High School. And my favorite places in town usually revolve around my kids and their activities. So I spend plenty of time at McDonald Field, playing softball and coaching there along Camp McDonald. Also spend plenty of time at the Gary Morava Park District, where my kids participate in activities. And I would say otherwise, yeah, supporting local businesses, right? I'm always running my car through the new car wash, Everclean on Rand Road with my monthly subscription. I'm shopping at Tony's. Luckily, my husband does 95% of the grocery shopping, so not one of my favorite places to spend in town. But and then buying gas at Thornton's, right? That's something I can do, right? Get out to fill up my tank of gas. But favorite places in town, right? Shop local and enjoy our park district amenities.
Thank you. Candidate Dash, you have 1 minute to answer the following question. Flooding on roads and property continue to be of concern for many residents in this ward. How would you advocate for fixing or solving these concerns? Do you feel it is solely the homeowner's problem?
So really, I mean, the root of the flooding problem in Prospect Heights is due to a lack of infrastructure. When you have large estate lots like we do here in Prospect Heights, it's not uncommon to have little to no storm sewer infrastructure because there's a lot of impervious area, the water drains and it dissipates, right? So, obviously there are parts in town that are not draining well, especially in the Fourth Ward. There are projects already in place in the design stage that the city is looking to bring to fruition here in town. And, starting on the west side and getting those residents some relief, then will ultimately make its way further east to the middle part of town. And the east side of town is, generally the water drains east towards the river. So yeah, it's an important issue. We need more infrastructure really to solve the problem. And although there are certain things that residents can do to make sure that their lots are draining properly, I think in the big picture, the city needs to participate in putting in some more infrastructure.
Thank you. Candidate Fulta, you have 1 minute to answer the same question. Flooding on roads and property continue to be of concern for many residents in this ward, and how would you advocate for fixing or solving these concerns, and do you feel that it is solely the homeowner's problem?
I'll answer from the back. It's not the problem of the owner. That's the problem of the city. And I know we have a problem with the infrastructure. And as long as I've been coming to the city meetings, and every time the flood issue come up, the residents sometimes don't know what to do, and they come into the meetings complaining, and the engineers will think about it, and nothing's been done for over years. So I know that we have to start with the infrastructure. It will take time. So nobody gonna promise here that whoever's gonna be the alderman, we're not gonna have a water problem. We're still gonna have a water problem. And what I'm saying is that we need to be more compassionate to the residents, listen to them, address their concerns. Obviously, it's not an easy answer. There's no easy answer, but you have to be compassionate and listen to the residents.
Thank you. And just a reminder to the audience to please send any questions you have to 224-306-9521 or email forum.lwvah@gmail.com. Candidate Fulta, you have 1 minute to answer the next question. What is more important for our town right now? Building new homes and commercial spaces, or rehabbing, expanding, or better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts?
I think neither. I mean, yes, whoever wants to move in to do the business in Prospect Heights, they will have to take care of whatever rehabs they have to do it. I don't see the Prospect Heights being a big city, and I really don't want to see the big buildings in our small city. I think that, you know, we are small neighborhood, and that's what I want to keep. I mean, I would be for the small city. So if some business wants to open up, yes, come on in, apply it, and we'll, you know, we have to rehab the whatever the space you want to be. But the building new infrastructure, new houses around us, I don't think that's a good idea.
Thank you. Candidate Dash, you have 1 minute to answer the same question. What's more important for our town right now? Building new homes and commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding, or better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts?
I mean, it's absolutely, you know, rehabbing what we already have here in town and working to find new businesses for our vacant, you know, retail and commercial spaces. I mean, the reality of it is there is little to no opportunity in town for new development, whether it be residential or commercial. And I think the pandemic has proved that most municipalities don't need more retail and commercial, but very, very important is to make sure that the spaces that we have in town, those retail and commercial spaces are filled. Not only does it benefit the residents because now we have more opportunity to shop in town and get the services we need locally, but it also helps the owners, the business owners in town who own those retail and commercial spaces to keep their properties full and producing income and maintained well. So yeah, definitely needing to focus on our existing opportunities to be better in our city.
Thank you. Candidate Dash, you have 1 minute to answer the following question. If you could change one thing in the city, what would it be and why?
So the one thing to change, that's interesting, right? So I know everyone loves to complain about drainage and flooding, and we don't have sidewalks, so it's not safe to walk on the streets. We don't have street lights, so it's not, you know, safe to be out at night. So, I mean, the one thing I'd change, if I had a magic wand and a pot of gold, I would see that the infrastructure in our city was more current with today's standards. We'd have curbs, we'd have roads with curbs, we'd have storm sewer infrastructure, we'd have water main available so that we could have access to a reliable source of water, not only for drinking, but for fire protection. And we'd have a network of sidewalks and streetlights so that when we want to be out and about, we want to promote people, you know, being in our city, that they would have those resources to them to be pedestrians and be safe in our town. So again, I don't have a magic wand. I don't have a pot of gold, but it would sure be nice if we had some infrastructure that allowed people to be out and about more in a safe environment as well.
Thank you. Candidate Fulta, you have 1 minute to answer the same question. If you could change one thing in the city, what would it be and why?
Well, obviously we agree with us that the biggest problem is the water drainage. So it's, you know, obviously it's not going to be done this year or next year, but it's going to be there. And if we city can work on it with the drainage, that's definitely would be the perfect first one thing to do for a city. And I believe the streets are in a pretty good shape. I know that we don't have the sidewalks, but the mayor did a great job with the cities, and they're definitely improved. And so there's a little things that needs to be done here and there, but the biggest problem is the drainage. That's spending a lot of sleepless nights for our residents who are affected by them.
Thank you. Candidate Fulta, you have 1 minute to answer the following question. What prompted you to run for alderman?
That was a pretty quick decision. And we don't have a representation. We do not, as a resident, that small guy right in the corner, you will go to the city, wants to have something done. It's not gonna be solved. Then when we have 200 people going against the city and asking the city not to build something that they're living in this neighborhood and they're gonna be forced to live next to 69 units buildings. And I'm like, wait a minute, something is wrong with this. 200 people coming to the meeting and they're saying, we don't want something. And the city says, no, you don't know what's good for you. We know what's good for you. And that's why I decided to run, just because we need to have a representation. That little guy right in the corner needs to have a representation in the city council.
Thank you. Candidate Dash, you have 1 minute to answer the same question. What prompted you to run for alderman?
What prompted me to run for alderman? That is a great question. Actually, it's what prompted me to join the Planning and Zoning Board almost 10 years ago, right? I'm someone who, again, uniquely qualified to serve the city in that capacity. My understanding of the zoning ordinances and how city government works, I felt like it was my duty to serve the city when I was asked if I'd be interested in helping. So I agreed. And 10 years later, I believe that transitioning from the Planning and Zoning Board to a seat on the City Council is a very natural progression. You see that often in most other municipalities where someone will gain some experience in one position and then use that now to serve in a different capacity. So, serving on the City Council is something that I'm very excited to be doing as the current alderman of Ward 4, and it's something that I would very much like to continue doing to finish the remaining 2 years of this term.
Thank you. Candidate Dash, you have 1 minute to answer the following question. What would you like the city to look like in 10 years?
What would I like the city to look like? Well, I have a hunch it's going to look a lot like what it does today. Our zoning ordinance with our half-acre lots, that's not going anywhere. Again, very few opportunities in town to really make big changes. So I would say, though, that I would bet you'll continue to see new residential construction in town where people have rehabbed or rebuilt on existing lots in our city. Obviously, it's a great place to live. People are drawn here not only because of our large lots, but because of our excellent schools. And so I would expect to, again, see redevelopment from a residential standpoint. And I would hope that our commercial and business users in town continue to take pride in their property and make improvements to keep their spaces looking fresh and current to, again, attract new businesses and also keep our town looking great.
Thank you. Candidate Fulta, you have 1 minute to answer the same question. How would you like the city to look in 10 years?
Great question. Well, let me go imagine something that 10 years from now, everybody wants to live in Prospect Heights. Like the property is gonna be sky high pricey just because everybody wants to move into the Prospect Heights. But to be serious, yes, this is why we're living in this for so many years. We love here. This is our heaven. Big lots, friendly people, and this is what I think that's the best thing. And I don't want to Prospect Heights to change 10 years from now. I want to be the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Fulta, you have 1 minute to answer the following question. How do you feel about the transportation options available in our town? Do we have enough options? If not, what will you do to increase those?
just because the way, thank you, just because the way the Prospect Heights is set up, I don't think we have much choice about the transportation. It's everybody shop locally. You know, when you're in East Side, you shop in the East Side. I don't think the transportation needs for a Prospect Heights. So I don't see this any needs on that, just because the way the Prospect Heights is set up. So, thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Dash, you have 1 minute to answer the same question. How do you feel about the transportation options available in our town? Do we have enough options? And if not, what will you do to increase those?
So we do have some pretty great options for transportation in our city today. I mean, we have a train station on the east side of town. Whether that's utilized to its fullest capacity, not quite sure. I know that we also have, bus systems that run through town. I would think primarily through our Route 83 corridor, our Milwaukee corridor, Rand Road. Again, whether people are utilizing those transportation options or not, but I would say generally the biggest benefit of Prospect Heights and the transportation is that our proximity to 294 and 355, put us in an ideal location to really get anywhere we need to be in a very short amount of time. So if there are other opportunities to make Prospect Heights more transportation friendly, then I'm certainly open to getting those in place for our residents. But at this point, again, I think we're on the right track.
Thank you. Candidate Dash, you have 1 minute to answer this question. Some residents prefer the country or rural feel and don't want sidewalks and streetlights. Do you have any comments?
So, yeah, I mean, the sidewalk and streetlight discussion, again, depends on who you are. If you're someone who likes to walk and bike and be out with your kids and push strollers, then, you're someone who wants that infrastructure. Streetlights, again, from a safety standpoint, provide a lot of benefits, not just for pedestrians, but for people to protect their homes, being in well-lit areas. Again, I think that the sidewalks that we do have in town, Mayor Helmer has done a great job trying to connect our schools where people need to have options to get there, pedestrian-friendly options. But again, implementing sidewalks and streetlights all over town, not going to happen. The resources to do that would be great. So again, what we do have, I think, is great, and we could continue to build on that. But I like what has been done, and it's really done wonders for our community. You can see people using those sidewalks all the time now.
Thank you. Candidate Folta, you have 1 minute to answer that same question. Some residents prefer the country or rural feel and don't want sidewalks and streetlights. Do you have any comments?
Yes, so obviously on the main roads, we need to have a good lights and the sidewalks on the main roads, and in the neighborhood, it's not either. So, and that's why the people moving to those sites, the rural sites. So obviously, I'm forward to have the main roads lit and the sidewalks. There's some sidewalks needs to be done to help for kids to go to the high school, like the Hersey. They have to go across the street to the Rand Road. There is the problem with the walkways through the Rand Road. But this is a complex situation and needs to be resolved not only with the Prospect Heights, but also with the IDF. So that's my stand on it. The main road should be lit, and the rest of the rural neighborhoods should stay as they are.
Thank you. The candidates will be in the following order for 2-minute closing statements. Candidate Folta and then Candidate Dash. Candidate Folta, please begin your 2-minute closing statement.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for participating and putting this very interesting thing together. I'm not a politician. I'm not the wealth speaker. I've been in the Prospect Heights for a lot of years, and I have a feeling what people are saying, and I have a feeling what the people want. And as I mentioned in the opening statement, we need to have representations of the residents, not the big companies, not what the companies want in the Prospect Heights. What we want is important. There's a lot of interest group, even in the Prospect Heights, the small city like the Prospect Heights. There's the interest groups which they are interested in doing some things that's not necessarily good for our residents. Obviously, the Prospect Heights is the income is depending on the sales tax. We need to promote within the residents to shop locally. This is important to us. For so many years, we probably, when I'm in the Prospect Heights, I attended to probably 3 or 4 meetings regarding the home rule. And the home rule is important for Prospect Heights, but there are some good things and the bad things in the home rule. So if we're gonna decide to keep the revenue streaming in from the sales tax, that will put the Prospect Heights in a great shape. So we need to promote the local businesses. We need to promote people to purchase, to buy the stuff in the Prospect Heights. That's why I was proposing to have a Chamber of Commerce, Prospect Heights Chamber of Commerce. We need to get all the businesses together and let the people know that the businesses are in our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Dash, please begin your 2-minute closing statement.
Again, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting me to participate in tonight's forum. I'm running for this office because I would very much like to continue serving as the Alderman of the 4th Ward. My top priorities as Alderman will be to connect with the residents and understand what they need. I'll continue to advocate for capital projects that will improve our stormwater infrastructure and decrease flooding in Prospect Heights. And I will continue to support existing, potential, and future businesses in our city which provide much needed local sales tax revenue. I grew up in Prospect Heights. I chose to raise my family in Prospect Heights. My education, my work experience, my expertise, my commitment and service to the city to date make me uniquely qualified to serve the residents of Prospect Heights. I hope that the residents agree with me and that I'm the best candidate to continue serving as the Alderman of the 4th Ward, and that they elect me on April 6th. And sounds silly, but it's time to dash to the polls, everybody. Get out and vote and let your voice be heard on April 6th.
Thank you. And thank you all for attending this candidate forum. I will now return to our MC.
Special thank you to the Prospect Heights Library for co-hosting this program with us and making it possible to have an ASL interpreter. Thank you to Mary Catherine for being our moderator tonight. To the audience, please make sure to register to vote, make your plan to vote, and then make sure your voice is counted this election day. If you need help, League of Women Voters, Arlington Heights, Mount Prospect, Buffalo Grove is here to help. Check out our website at www.LWV-AH.org for voter registration information. Yes, you can register online, mail-in vote information, planning your ballot, as well as your early and day of polling locations. Again, check us out at www.LWV-AH.org and follow us on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We even have accounts specifically for youth at student.lwvah and a mascot at pause for in votes. And make sure once you're ready to vote, you tell 10 friends where they can find all the information they need to be counted. www.lwvah.org. We are grateful to you all for joining us and to our candidates, Candidate Dash and Folta. Our democracy relies on citizens willing to run for office. To our ASL interpreter, Patty Shore-Caden, and to all of the volunteers of our league who work tirelessly to bring you this free program. Thank you so much and have a great night.
Right.
Thank you. Mary Catherine, you did an excellent job this evening. And thank you to everyone. Nice to see you too, Mark. Good evening.
Good evening. And yeah, I appreciate it. I know they're tough questions.
So
Thank
I'm
you.
curious, did anybody actually text or email questions tonight? I knew you were following what you had prepared.
I was getting a little, I didn't know I didn't have to say the phone number and the email every